Hi, everybody. So excited to be here tonight. This is awesome. This platform is like incredible. The little tables, double click to get in. Talked to so many awesome folks tonight. This has been rad. So tonight I'm going to talk to you about what I've been geeking out about lately. I read a book called Atomic Habits by James Clear last year, and it's really honestly been helping me like find sanity amidst what is happening around us. So who the hell am I and what do I do in my life? Thank you, Rachel, by the way, for the awesome intro. So I go by she, her, hers. I am currently the director of UX at edX. I am hyper passionate about really just getting everybody to be super successful and to high five often. It's a big passion of mine, and before I joined edX, as I told some other folks at some of the tables this evening, I was sort of on this tipping point of like, either I'm going to leave design and go into the culture and employee enablement side of HR, or I'm going to find a hybrid of that while still being able to do design. And I'm really happy to report that edX allows me the space to be almost entrepreneurial with some of the stuff I've been working on. So we're currently running public speaking workshops internally, which is a blast, and we're only doing the ones that matter remotely. So like vocal dynamics is just not happening until we get back into the building, unfortunately. Anyway, so I'm a painter, as Rachel mentioned. I have Instagram, I'm on Twitter, but whatever. But the shameless plug for you all tonight is if you're interested in learning how to paint with acrylics or like getting an idea behind like the method to my madness, I just spun up a YouTube channel. And obviously the videos are happening on Instagram as well. So if you've been curious or if you have like old acrylic paint hanging around and you're like, I don't know what the hell to do with this stuff, maybe I can help. So there's that. And then I definitely heart reading Psychology Today magazine a lot. That is like my spare time. Okay. So let's talk Atomic Habits and like what's been happening lately. Things were hard before and they're definitely still really hard right now. And that's okay. One of the most unexpected levels of stress that I found for me was that like the way that I define myself, my freedom, and even just like the minutia of like our day to day, all of a sudden got really turned around and mixed up. And so like these routines that we were so used to and probably never even thought about, all of a sudden had to either get completely redesigned, rethought, or just adjusted slightly. And so the thing that stuck out the most for me was that spontaneously, as a manager of an awesome team, I love to do like drive-bys and walk-bys to check in on folks to see what they're working on. Could we do some jam sessions on a whiteboard? I can't really do that. And so how do I adjust in this mode? But I felt myself saying like, it shouldn't be this hard. And a lot of us were saying that to ourselves, but then started saying it to each other, I think, which was the most important part. And it still is, and that's okay. And Walker Ray is a friend of mine. Her Twitter page lights me up because she talks all about the realness that is happening for a woman who also runs and is dealing with COVID. So at first it was definitely a heavy lift to support everybody that was already on the team. But then I also had new hires joining and I had to onboard people remotely, which I had never had to do before. I worked from home plenty of times, but I would make sure I was in the office if I was onboarding a new employee, for example. And I got so wound up in stressing out about how to make those new folks feel like they were at home and they could deal with this weird situation that then I forgot how to support me. And so I needed to like remind myself like, all right, what are the things we already know? What are the tools that we already have? Atomic Habits was one of those things. So quote on the right here. So many people begin the process of changing their habits by focusing on what they want to achieve, which leads us to outcome-based habits. The alternative, however, is to build identity-based habits. And with that approach, we can start by focusing on who we wish to become. So the three layers that James Clear outlines for behavior change are, first, talk about identity, who do you want to be? Then talk about the process, what are you going to change? And then what is the outcome behind that? A little bit more, some quotes. So the parallel between the identity crisis and identity-based habits is definitely strong. If we're in denial about our bad habits, we definitely seek to craft a fictional identity that is not our true selves. If we embrace our goals and who we can be, our identity is actually going to be a self-fulfilling set of actions, and we can define ourselves based on that evidence rather than just having these like contradictory wishes. So these bullets on the right are really what I started to remember. Like, the goal is to not read a book, the goal is to become a reader. The goal is not to run a marathon, the goal is just to become a runner. And the goal is not to learn an instrument, the goal is to become a musician. So how might we actually turn our little fictional identity fate around? We got to decide, who do we want to be? We got to define it, write it down, say it to ourselves, say it out loud. And then we got to prove it to ourselves with small wins. Thank you, Beaker. So this was the exercise that I went through for myself. As a manager during this crisis, who do I want to be? I want to be the kind of manager where my directs feel safe coming to me with their honest experiences. And I'm so grateful that we actually had more and more honest conversations about what people were feeling, what they were dealing with. I want to be the kind of manager that makes people feel like they can get through this authentically in their own way. In the coaching programs I develop, mentorship, you will know, like, if you've worked with me, I am all about trying to create space with you, for you, so that you can feel 100% of yourself. If you can't feel authentic in life, it's a really hard place to be, per what Molly was talking about as well. Like, it's so important to find the space to just be your true self. And I needed to find a way to help other people be their authentic self, as well as myself, right? I want to be the kind of manager who emulates balanced behaviors and encourages others to lean into self-care. Huge angle. You got to practice what you preach, though. So what have I been doing? Obviously, like, steal all of these things, try them with your team, try them with yourself. So I ended up recreating the casual drive-by conversations just by doing individual Slack messages. So like once or twice a week, I'll send each team member, and now we are up to a total of 11, including myself. And I spend the time, like, I have blocks of like 2-hour windows at the end of the day where, like, I'll just poke people and be like, it's Wednesday. How's your day going? How are you feeling mentally? What's going on? And just like giving people a space to vent, even if it starts on Slack. If we need to move it to a call, we can. But it makes me feel like I'm doing my job, but also that, like, I'm being a human to another human and helping them just have space to talk about whatever's going on, as well as work. But really, like, the mental anguish that's happening with this crisis, because we've all never had to deal with this before, is the hardest part. We set up game time every other Friday. We started with Jackbox games, particularly with Drawful and Quiplash, and then we got too big. And so, like, last week we ended up playing Scriblio, which was great. So we have couches, cocktails, and game time every other Friday. I literally text everybody through Slack when my eyeballs are melting out of my face and that it's time for me to shut down. Or if I'm going to be offline because I squeezed in a run midday, I just say that stuff out loud to try and lead by example. I want people to know that it's okay to talk out loud, even if it's not with your voice. You're using text on keys within Slack or other places, and just being really transparent about, like, where are you at? I keep it light, obviously, but also just trying to let people know, like, I'm signing off for the day, or I'm going to be out for a couple of hours. I'm going to go take care of me. Please do the same. I have definitely said no to a lot of video calls with friends and family. I am on video calls all damn day. I have no interest in being on more video calls because people are so excited to FaceTime with me. I'm sorry, I don't have the energy, but I'm not sorry. And then I've been working with each person on the team to craft a schedule that works for them. So we have one person who has a newborn. We have others that have, shared space, and they're trying to figure out what to do with their partner so that they're not screaming in each other's ears. So really working together in order to create transparent communication about, like, okay, I'm going to log off at this time, but then I'm going to be back on this time. We have other people that shift. One person that works 11 to 7 on Wednesdays just to mix it up, and it gives them time in the morning to get in a really long bike ride, for example. And then setting intentions for the week or the day. This is something we talked about last week. edX recently extended our work from home period until September, and it was hard. It was like a big news flash, and a lot of folks on the team, we needed to talk about it as a group. And so we talked about, beginning the week with intentions about the work, but then I chimed in and was like, screw the work. I set intentions for what I want to do for my personal time, because I know I can handle enough of what's coming and I'm already organized enough to deal with it, but I need to actually take care of me. And then lastly, we have a work from home wellness channel, as well as just obviously within our own UX team channel. And we constantly share like what's working, everything from lunches to when I discovered that like at the end of the workday, and I did this before I got on this call, actually, I do what's called a supported fish pose. This lovely lady on this giant bolster pillow really helps me drop my shoulders because I find that I cave in all day long. And my massage therapist yells at me all the time. And so just sharing those little tidbits of like what's working for you can really make a difference for your team members or your fellow friends and family as well. And that's it. So if you're interested, pick up a copy of Atomic Habits. It's phenomenal. James Clear's newsletter also, like every Thursday, he comes out with what he calls 3-2-1. And he shares a quote from him, a quote from somebody else, two things that you can take away, and then like longer form quotes that you can apply. And they're just like, it's probably the most useful newsletter I get in my inbox that I actually get really excited to see every time. And that's me. So if you're looking for info about my art, but there's also secret buried pages if you get to the footer about my design work outside of, just being a director, feel free to hop over there and check it out.